Hello, everybody. What do we got? CT, what's up, CT? Half free. What's going on, Glenn? All right, you guys. I'm gonna bring in Alex here.
How's it
What's up,
going,
Alex?
man?
What's going on, dude?
Got Tomo. Oh, it's been a day.
Oh yeah. What? Bad cat day? See you holding the cat.
Well, not my cat, my wife's cat. We had to take him back to the vet again.
Oh man, chewing the
Start.
stitches open.
Well, they can't stitch it. He started bleeding through his bandaging, so we had to rush him in so they could change it. The vet still doesn't know what's going on.
Huh? Not
His
doing real
blood
well,
will
huh?
not coagulate.
Oh, that's not good. That's not real
No,
good, huh?
so we're trying to figure
Well,
it
I
out.
hope everything gets better on that end.
Oh yeah.
Who do we got here tonight?
Well, we got outlaw, half breed. That's what I see right now.
Well, no, I mean on the studio. Who's in the studio waiting for us?
Well, I can't see that end. I thought it was supposed to be Tempest.
It is Tempest Blade, people. So we'll bring him on. There you go. How about that?
There's
What's up,
the
Tempest?
man. What's up, Tempest?
Nothing much, man.
Cool. We can hear you. We can hear you. Can you hear us? Everybody coming in?
Yep.
All right. Well, Tempest, you got some questions for him, Alex? I'll let you. If you got some questions for him, I got some questions for him too.
Yeah, I can start off if you want.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'll let you go first.
So,
But you want to wait,
Tim,
man? We get some
what?
people in here first. We can get some people in here first, probably,
Yeah,
huh?
we got Yoto in here too, which is rare.
Oh, cool. Right on.
How's it
Here's
going,
John.
Yoto? Air
What's
Power
up,
Roy's
John?
here. Addicted, John.
You got air power.
Yeah. You and my
Roy.
wife jumped in and said hi.
Okay.
Tempest is like, oh God, we're gonna have a big audience tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my first ever live stream, so I'm kind of a little bit low panic. I'm usually much more introverted, but yeah, everybody was asking me to come on, so I'm like, well, yeah, kind of.
Well, yeah, man, you rank up there like one of the best cutters on YouTube with Eric Hussein, man.
Well, yeah,
I
man.
saw that triple the first time you got a triple, dude. I mean, you were so happy when you got that. That was awesome.
Eric Hussein, I think, is a sword god. I think there's 2 levels below that, and I'm kind of up there. I just got a little bit more notoriety, I guess.
Well, that's the thing with you though, Tempest. You change things up all the time. That's why I enjoy your cutting videos. You use katanas, you use European swords. Now you're using gladius, and then you'll mix up and use the two.
Yeah.
You know, that's unique. I don't see very many people doing that.
No.
I kind of got inspired by a Musashi Miyamoto quote. He said, "Too much training with one weapon is the same as not enough." So I was like,
Exactly.
"Yeah, man, I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna do everything."
So, what got you started in swords, anyways? Just out of curiosity.
It's actually a couple of things. I remember when I was 6 years old, because I was watching Star Wars and all that stuff, and I was watching Luke Skywalker and all that stuff, and I was seeing him cut through that. I was like, yeah, dude, that's really cool and all that. So I got into swords a little bit more because I was like, well, yeah, it was kind of disappointing to learn that real life swords can't actually cut through everything, and you have to actually have some technique and all that stuff. And I was 10 years old by the time I was getting accustomed to that fact. So I'm like, oh man, it's already been this long. So yeah, let's run the gauntlet. Let's keep going.
Yeah, why not? I mean, Star Wars, I think, inspired a lot of people.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
It was unique at its time. He mixed a lot of different things, pirates, samurais. I mean, just all kinds of stuff into one movie. You know,
you can keep going, because I was paying attention to it. It's vastly different when you're a kid when you come back as an adult and then watch it. So I was after practicing some martial arts and everything. Hey, it's Quiet Boys, man. What's up?
Right on.
Scab's in here. Daniel Lopez, Blind Samurai's in here.
What's up, Daniel?
Y'all say hi to him. I think he's going to be on next week, I do believe. So
yeah,
that would be cool.
Oh wow, what happened to Wardine? But yeah, I was remembering the guy who did the original Darth Vader. He was like Bob Anderson.
Yeah.
He was like an Olympic fencer. They taught like Luke some kendo, and then there was like Form 5, and then I like saw like some of the actual European arm martial arts, like the one where they did like this workout and they kept like doing that. It was really cool in like the last three, not last three, like the third one, like Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like the one where they had like the most duels and the most see where what does it say?
Oh, here. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
except it was channel. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, it was pretty cool seeing like the mix of all the styles and all that. And then the forms of like the 7 forms of like lightsaber combat is really just like pretty much a swordship like that already exists, but they just give it like a different name. He's like, so how many of you guys actually practice this? And they're like, yeah, nobody. So like if we just like rebranded, nobody will pretty much figure it out.
Yeah. Especially during that time too, when Star Wars came out, I don't think anybody really was practicing with swords that much.
Yeah.
Now with your European,
I didn't know there was different styles in that. I just thought there was all Jedi style.
Well, yeah, when like it's a lightsaber, it's kind of like all I really got to do is touch this guy. So yeah,
yeah,
like,
pretty much, and just decimates you.
There was like maybe like one with like Christopher Lee when he was doing Count Dooku. I know that the reason why they specifically like gave him that handle was because he was like a fencer in real life, so it's like a fencer's foil. So it was like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, do you guys know who the special effects guy Tom Savini is?
Nah.
He did the special effects for Friday the 13th, the original one and all that. But he's actually a professional, or he was, fencer as well, too. He used to do competitions.
Yeah, man, that's kind of cool. I forgot the name of like the coordinator stunt guy that they had or the choreographer, but yeah, he did like a lot of fight moves. He's like actually in like a lot of movies. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. Like even Conan, they sent him to Kenjutsu school.
Oh, yeah, I saw
learn
that.
Swordsmanship just for that movie too. I mean, it's amazing. It's like in Highlander, they brought in Aido teachers to teach them to use swords. I mean, it's like people just think they just stick these things in these people's hands, and then no, they get some training because even an Aito sword or European dull sword, you can hurt somebody with one of those things.
Yeah,
very easily.
Yeah,
and it's like Tempest, you're doing European style now. Now, do you look up the manuscripts that are out there to learn the moves, or because I know there's not much on it?
There's like a couple manuscripts, and there's also like the teachers and all that stuff. Like some of them have like a little bit of a lineage. So there's like multiple different various sources, but I know that there's like 3 main ones and one that I heard of recently. So the 3 main one is Lichtenau style, which is the one that I do. It's like the German longsword, and then it kind of focuses a lot on wrist movements and like the different 5 master blows. And then there's Lieb. Oh man, his name is like something Italian, but I can like Fiore Libere. And then he does like a lot of the Italian fencing stuff, but like he's also like basically a weapons master, so he does like a little bit of spear, a lot of other things. And the other guy is Myers. So it's like Joachim Meyer. He's also another German guy. And one that I'd like recently heard of was like Talhofer, like the Oakshot Type 15 that's like really like thrust oriented. It was like one of his favorite swords. So they actually have like an Albion model that they like literally named after him.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's like a couple swordsmen. So they got like kind of recovering the manuals, and like basically they're even now still kind of like still uncovering. So they have like basically like a lot of pictures. They practice it and they like kind of pass it down from people to people. Like it's mostly in Europe, but there actually are like a couple of different schools all over America. Like it's getting like a little bit big. Like I don't know if like everybody is necessarily agreeing, because there used to be like a school side by side with it, what was called like ARMA, which the acronym for that was Armed Renaissance Martial Arts, which is basically like same stuff. Because I'm like watching that one guy, he was like a really famous guy from Korea. He came on like have you ever seen like that Weaponism channel where they have it on
Yeah.
like Korea? Yeah, yeah,
I
like the guy that
subscribe to
was
it.
the dude that was doing like the Legionnaire style, like he
Yeah.
was from Arma, and he's like the last one that I heard of. There was one that used to come in like Houston recently, but like it disappeared. I couldn't find them. So when I just like wanted to go to like pick up a class, I was like, okay, where's the nearest one to me? And then I like went in there because I'm like, I've always wanted to do it. So I like just went there and like I rolled with it. And like pretty much went from there. They got
Yeah,
like
because I know trying to learn European style here in the States is really hard to find a school that will teach you. It's almost as hard as trying to find any idol class, but you'll find one of those quicker than you will like a European style. I mean, besides fencing,
yeah, pretty much.
because I know in metropolitan areas they have fencing, but I mean, using the longsword and all that, it can't be easy trying to find a school that would teach you.
Yeah, there was actually one of those Schwarzenegger as a perfectionist, probably. But yeah, I was like actually one that wasn't that far from me. It's just like probably now like getting to the place actually after I found it because I had like a Facebook post that I actually saw on it. It was like 2020, so like everybody was getting like some stacks and racks and stuff. So I'm like, you know what? Let's go ahead and like put some of this money to good use and all that stuff. So like getting there was easy, but like the parking was freaking murder because it's
Oh
like a
God.
really small gymnasium and stuff. So I'm like, I'm trying to get in there. Like, okay, I'll just come like 15 minutes late because I like had to do something there, and then I like popped up in there and it was like from freaking like they was doing like laps around the place, and I'm like, there's no freaking way. So how am I gonna find some parking? Then I was like, after I got through with the lesson and all that stuff, because I was like one of the people that stayed to the end. So I was like parking in one of the apartment complexes, like, okay, I'll be in and out of this place before anybody knows it. There was like some lady that was about to like have my card towed. Cause
Oh God.
like I was like watching her on the cell phone and all that. So like, wait. Yeah, I'm leaving right now.
Damn. That would have sucked.
Yeah, that would have been horrible, man.
Go out there and your car's gone. You're like, oh, man. Now do you know Japanese
I would
style
have
swords?
supported it too. So
Yeah, like a little bit. I had like a friend that like used to train. He went back to DC.
Yeah.
Cause like my job at the time was like super science spinning. So he like told me like he knew like a couple of styles and all that stuff. And I'm like, right now I'm on like the kendo side of things, but I'm kind of like trying to get to the kenjutsu. I like
Yeah.
learn a little bit of it. So he showed me some of that. And then
So you have a little bit of knowledge in it.
yeah.
So with learning European style and having a little bit of knowledge of Japanese style, have you seen similarities in the moves?
Yeah, I've seen like a couple of similarities in stances. Like in kendo, you call it like the Chudan stance, right? Or like Seigen, like the basic one where you just kind of have like the sword kind of like pointed forward. There's like two that are similar to it. Like one is called Flug, which means plow, and the second one is like Langort. Like Langort is really just more like a transitionary state. So you're getting ready or propped up from another cut. But I was like, yeah, it's pretty much basically the same thing. And then there was like the Waki no Kame, where you have like the sword kind of like angled a little bit down, and then it's like at that stance. And so like the Nebenhook was basically like the one that was like the tail one that I was like, yeah, it kind of looks the same, but then you ended up like actually getting into it and it looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
Because they have like the dual edge and all that stuff, so they like try to make use of it. Like and then one other stance. Like I don't know the name of the Japanese one where you like kind of like rest it right there. But there was
I
like
know what you're talking about.
yeah, it was basically like dead on for that. So I'm like, and the German one for it is like called Schlüssel, which means key. That comes from Joachim Meyer. So like I'm like, yeah, basically a lot of these because it's like basically a sword. So you like swing it, you get the momentum to do the cut. So like even though the swords are kind of different, like the core biomechanics are pretty much gonna be the same. So you can't really like this isn't like a whole totally different item. It's just gonna have like a couple of different functions. But like once you actually
go ahead.
Yeah, once you get like used to the whole training bit, like it kind of starts to make sense. And I'm like, yeah.
And that's the thing why I always hate that when people go, who win a battle, European or Japanese or Viking or Chinese, but what they don't understand is like, because like the question asked, you see similarities because it all boils down to human mechanics. You can only move your body a certain way. So some of them are going to look similar. They might have some variations to the move that suits better for the sword that they're using, but pretty much your body can only move a certain way, and that's for everybody. So it's like, I always hate those because it's like, really, it all boils down to if your sword may be longer or you have more of a guard, like Europeans have more of a guard on their swords than Japanese do. So you can block a lot more. Some Europeans use shields, the Japanese didn't. So it's like, you can't really put that on like who would be better, because you could be at a standstill because your body's going to move the same way. So your movements are going to be kind of similar. It's going to be like a mirror reaction. So I always hate seeing those when people try to compare. Oh, they would win, or they would win. And it's like, you can't really say that, unless you really put that time period together. You can't actually say that because we all move the same way, unless you're a contortionist or something.
Yeah, like
twist your body a certain way.
Pretty much everybody's blood is red, and we're all members of the human race. So like, some people might have like a mutation or something that makes you like a little bit different. Like there was this one samurai guy that had like a really long arm, and then he like used it to basically like do some extra powerful stuff. But it's like, your heart's still pretty much here. It's like there's gonna be pretty much a lot of stuff that's probably more similar than different, really.
Yeah, so, and that too. It also depended on your armor that you wear. European armor, they tried to cover every aspect of their body as they possibly could.
I gotta be honest, I can get behind that, especially when I'm in a fight when someone's trying to poke out my eye.
Oh yeah, I mean that's that was, when you think about it, it's like that's really horrific too. Because here you see European where they just have a slit there, so that person's going to try and jab something through there and get your eyes or something. I mean,
they got like
that would just be horrible. I'd rather be cut than stabbed.
Like, let me get a sword real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they got like the ward out for that, because like there's two things that they're gonna do specifically when you're like really super armored up to like the 9s, because then most of your sword cuts are gonna be like super effective. So they got like this, or that's the ward out where they basically like hit the person with like the handle. So then it's like a blunt force. So then you can still get hurt pretty bad and get like some bruising in there. Or they got like the half sword. And then this is when I'm like, I know that it's about to get like down to the wire here. So they're about to like start poking or like trying to like hit around in the gaps. Then it makes it kind of like act like a spear. So they like block it, kind of like turn it to take like a little bit control of the other person's blade. Then they're like going to start looking for gaps. And I'm like, all right, this guy is he's trying to get down. And then another thing that people will do is like try to use his crossguard to actually like go for like the slit in the eye. And like people couldn't like walk around with like the thing on their face like 100% of the time, because it's like really hard to breathe, and like the more you start moving, like the more it can like get taxing. They call it like helmet terror or something. Like when you got like a lot of drama in on it, and then it makes you like start freaking out, and you're like, dude, I need to get out of this armor. But it's like it takes a really long time to like take it off. And then I'm like thinking about the people who are in battles like really bad. Then it's like, you need this on. So the dude is like trying his best to like not freak out, because it's like there's nothing you can do. You just have to power through it.
It's not like you can just take it off by yourself. Neither some of it,
Yeah, we got a special little event here. I got a surprise person in the studio.
Shut a nigga up.
Well, no, that's in the chat. I got somebody in the studio that wants to come on. So we will, how about this? Surprise.
Oh!
What's up, Matthew?
Hello.
Mr. Jensen, what's going on, sir?
Hopefully you can hear me and see me, and things are working. I'm operating on antiquated technology at the moment, but I had a minute before daddy duty kicked in. I thought I'd come on and say hello.
Well, hello to you.
Well, welcome.
Yeah, I just want to say this.
Thanks for coming on. Now, do you know Tempest? You ever seen Tempest videos?
I've seen a few of your shorts, but I'm not terribly familiar with the content. You know how it goes, getting in the mix and making it. It's tough to find time to watch it.
Yeah.
Well, now
you want
to explain your channel a little bit there, Tempest?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
pretty much just
basically what you do is, you're cutting all the time. You don't do a lot of reviews, do you? I mean, I've seen a couple videos where you talk about different European styles and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna make one where I was about to start to talk about messers, but I wanted to get a mic for that. And before I say anything else, Matthew Jensen's destruction of that katana in that one video was majestic. That was awesome. And
which one?
There's quite a few, but it was I just remember you just kept hitting it over there and chipping, and I'm like, I should be really offended by this, but I just kind of want to watch more.
You should try it sometimes. It's really fun.
Yeah, I bet.
I couldn't destroy one. I got to be honest. Sometimes I sit there and I cringe when you break them.
A lot of people do. A lot of people say they can't smoke crack, but a lot of people smoke crack.
Hey, I cry if I chip at my edge. Okay.
So I do break some swords, and occasionally they're my own. And there have been times where I haven't intended to break anything, and shit happens. It does. Most of the time when I break a thing, that's because somebody gave it to me for free. And it's in the back of my mind, what I'm thinking is, hey, I got this sword for free. The best thing I can do with it is not break it and give it to somebody. It's break it, see how far it goes, and inform everyone how far it can go, educate people maybe on what not to do or what to expect if you do stupid things. None of them are indestructible. None of them are infallible. But you get some general idea of hey, I know maybe everyone watching might understand I can't cut a tree down with a sword. But I'm guessing probably everyone here at one point thought they could, right? And seeing somebody pull back a broken stump might just be how you save yourself between $50 and $1,000, right? So hopefully there's an educational piece. Hopefully, I also tend to think if you're a practitioner that, and I understand it's arguable, it's not science, but I would argue that some of the really abusive stuff that I do is might suggest how the blade will hold up over a prolonged period of normal use, right? I've seen practitioners who never cut anything other than air, draw the sword, sheath it, and have broken a blade at the hilt because of the abrupt stopping motion, because they put so much force in the way that they stop and do their kata that eventually it just fatigues the metal and it breaks apart at the hilt, right? So I see that, and I understand throwing it at a tree isn't the same thing. But if it can take being tossed at a tree a few times and not break, chances are it's not going to, fatigue on you in the first couple of years anyway. So hopefully, well, I understand it's egregiously offensive. Katana lovers everywhere are seeing, it's like it's like you're into the equestrian arts and some dude is giving you horse meat recipes. I get it. It's not fun, but hopefully it's at least helpful.
I like them. I do cringe at first, but the end result is worth it. To seeing what the sword can do and all that, and I like when you show the kind of steel and show the inside of it when it's broke. That's cool. Because otherwise, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't get a glimpse of that. Yeah, I think it's important, especially in a review. So I'm with you.
Less frequently. Yeah.
You could try, Matthew, on the Damascus when you break them. Smooth out the end that's broken on one of them, and then acid etch it, because I'll show you all the layers in there, and I'll tell you how tight of the layers are and how far apart they are. A lot better.
So I find that works when there's some sort of lamination technique, in the sense that, I'm guessing you know what I'm talking about. For those right. that don't, in the event that you have folding, that's you've got things that are wound over each other, but they're really, really small, and sometimes there's a pattern on the surface of the steel. Lamination means that you got a taco, you got a hard steel or a soft steel, and then something, but there's this kind of dense visual layer that should be theoretically visible. And in some cases, I've found that breaking them apart, smoothing it down, and etching it will show those layers. In other cases, I've had a lot of trouble finding them. But in 0 cases have I seen Damascus like show well. Really wide grain Damascus might, and in fairness, I haven't tested like a really bold pattern of Damascus. But I have put it through like folded steels and stuff, and usually it looks pretty homogeneous when at least the way I'm doing it. I'm doing it with like vinegar or lemon juice and not ferric chloride or.
Because that's what we do when we have to do weld tests. We just saw it in half and we acid etch it. Because laminated blades. Laminated blades is almost the same way as stacking welds and then acid etching it.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be able to see all those layers in there. If the etching is done properly, you should be able to see every single layer.
And I have for the most part with laminated blades, but if I think about a laminated blade, a few of them that I've tested and seen the various effects on have been an outer core of some sort of folded steel, right? Damascus, some sort of, non-homogeneous folded, should have a pattern. On the surface of the steel with the right etch shows a pattern. But when I cut it in half, sand it down, and even if I put it a pretty nice kind of buff on it, in the sense that I'll bring it down to the highest grit belt that I have is 1,000 grit. So I'll bring it down to 1,000 grit, take isopropyl, try to clean it off, put it in not ferric chloride, lemon juice or vinegar or some amalgamation of the two. I never see anything other than like a solid surface. So it's only with at least the way I do it, and I'm sure there's better ways. But I can kind of make out the difference in the taco, but I don't see like the pattern in the folded steel or like what the layers in the Damascus. Yeah. I imagine it might come out if I did like a thicker layer Damascus or something, but with the folded steels that I've broken in half from Ryan Sword and JQ and the like, I haven't seen any like characteristics in the Damascus pattern.
Well, I would think it would just show up just as well, but that is very interesting.
I would think that the layers would show up in there.
You'd
that's
think,
what you're doing is you're stacking layers.
Well, I can understand why you'd assume, but I do want to preface that this is my ass and this is a hole in the ground and they look the same to me, right? Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to etching swords. Somebody was like vinegar, lemon juice. So I broke it in half. I sanded it. I took the non-sanded half, the sanded half. I cleaned it up, tried it multiple times, stuck it in vinegar. And over time, like the etch I've found, at least with like a San Mai billet, at no point over the period of a few days or a few months do I ever see a difference in like a Damascus pattern in the blades that I've tested. And I've tested a Ronin Elite that was broken as well. So that's not a folded steel. It shouldn't show a Damascus pattern, but it has a more elaborate and complex lamination pattern.
Yeah.
And I can make out some of the differences in lamination, but like the Ronin Dojo Elite, the Ryan Sword, the JQ, all of them kind of show the same malarkey when it comes to etching, and that I can make out higher density carbon steels or higher carbon steels. Presumably they etch a little darker or lighter.
Oh, the wizard, man.
But I don't see much else.
Now, are you familiar with like the European styles, like Tempest is? I mean, he knows all the German words for all that stuff. I don't know none of that.
I would say not really. I studied Filipino martial arts and Japanese martial arts from a sword moving standpoint. Right. But your HEMA, not really much of anything. The club that I go to for Kenjutsu, the Toyama Ryu School, is inside a school that does HEMA as well. And every now and again, I'll make it at the tail end of a class and get to hear a few things. And I think they study Lichtenauer in the school that I go to, but I'm not part of that class. I think that's what it is. But anyway, they have different positions for like the same, if very similar things.
Right. Now I have a question for you guys, because you guys are on the European sword end. I'm not even closely, remotely familiar with that at all. I seen a short of some semi-popular guy on YouTube, some HEMA guy, and he said, which is faster, the katana or the longsword? Well, of course, my prideful smart ass got on there right away. I'm like, the katana is, because you can draw and cut at in the same motion. And some other guy answered back, was like, no, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, no, it's the katana can be drawn and cut. You can cut somebody in one motion. And I don't know of any longsword that you can do that with, unless I'm wrong. And that's what I wrote him, and I didn't get a response back. But I'm curious. Was I even closely right, or was I just talking shit?
I'm thinking. Oh, you?
I would say, like, if you compare it to the car realm, it's like having a car with launch control, right?
Right. I mean, what's kind of obscure question?
And it's not that they can't, but that, like, the design of the katana is made to be drawn and cut in one motion, and the design of the European sword isn't emphatically like it's not necessarily a prerequisite that it be able to do that to be defined as good, right?
Right.
You can. And I've certainly seen falchions and other smaller long swords and even some bigger long swords that you could totally do that with. But I could do it with a $50 katana, right? and so I would say that, like, a katana almost has built-in launch control if I had to compare it to a car, in the sense that, like, if you have a shitty vehicle that has that feature built in, then off the line you might find some other fancier vehicle that is faster or does other things better, but is like that right. Feature innately is going to allow you to kind of maybe get the jump on somebody. Yeah. Tempest, go ahead. What do you think?
It makes sense to me.
Because it was like a trope from the quick draw style, not the quick draw, Yajutsu. Like during the Edo period, I think it was like when it became like really popular. Because, like, people had always been kind of like quick drawing and all that stuff, but like they basically quick drawed like when they were getting in duels and whatnot. Because right. I don't know if it was always like necessarily like this guy told you like straight out he wants to kill you. Like some guy would just like come at you. So it was like a last defense mechanism to be like, okay, I'm gonna like go back and like draw it really quick and like slash it. But like depending on the distance, if you're like really in the person's face, which is why they actually have like couple of different draws, which you guys probably already know this, but like for different situations, like one where the dude is like way too close, or like the standard draw is usually for like when the person is like a little bit distant. So when you like see him starting to come up on you, then you draw it, and then you like won't be completely and totally defenseless. But if it's like at a certain point, I don't know if like the speed really matters, and when you're like actually swinging and like for the most part like fighting and doing like the really normal techniques, I haven't seen like anybody like that did like some extremely like overpowered or like super speed where you just like blew past the other person. So I get like why people would think like it'd be like a little bit faster, because if you seen like the ninjato people would be like it's a really quick draw and all that stuff, but it's like also like a little bit of an illusion because the blade is like shorter. So when you do draw it, it's like a little bit faster, because it's like if you swing like a long sword or you swing like pocket knife, this one is probably gonna like move a little bit faster.
Right. Well, now, do you know any European moves that involve drawing the sword like that?
Well, I honestly, it's just not my my area of expertise. But I think there's a lot of realms where quick draws are appropriate, and I imagine it depends on the context and whatnot. And I could totally see doing it with some of the European swords that I have, but
they do exist then.
Just not my area where I could comment, and be useful. What I can say though is that the quick draw, you mentioned, Tempest, that it was in the Edo period, which is kind of late. What is it? It's 1600s or something like that. And one of the styles that I study is Katori Shinto-ryu, which is
way older than that.
Late 1300s, and a good portion of the Iaido that comes from that is a quick draw, effectively a draw cut in one motion, and it predates the Edo period by a few hundred years. So I don't know how often they were necessarily dueling, or at least the stuff that I've gotten to do is around armored combat. and then there's a component of Iaido, but there's certainly draw and cut in one motion, and that's a facet of every first cut in the Iaido component. So I would speculate that, I mean, once Japanese swords kind of became Japanese and they were, you know, I don't know if that's the Hanayan period or the Kamakura period or like when the transition happens. Where
it was like Kanayan, like, because that was when like 1100 AD, right, when they were like starting to like sort of transition from like Tachi to katana.
They still had a lot of Chinese influence. I think in the Kamakura period is when, again, asshole in the ground, but like it seems like things became a lot more uniquely Japanese in that period to my unscholarly eye. Regardless, though, I would say, like, I study one of the earliest forms of kind of documented koryu, the Japanese swordsmanship. I also study one of the newest in Toyamari, right? And the draw cut is important, really, in either one. I think it's.
I'm pretty sure it's like super important. I think like this is kind of like, because I know like in both styles, like katana and longsword isn't like necessarily like the go-to weapon. It's more like the spear. Like, and I know that the quick draw has pretty much been like around probably since like the Tachi, if not like a little bit early. Like I know, like I don't know if it like looked the same as with the Tachi, but I know that like as soon as they got the katana, they were like that curved shape like greatly helped it like with the assist and all that. So like I think that like if people like, especially movies, like hyped up the quick draw, because like some styles will probably have it like super important, where like most initial cuts or whatever like start with a quick draw. Others may have it like not very much. It's like, because one thing I will admit is like with the Kenjutsu school, I'm like definitely more into like probably like the European stuff than I am like really well versed in like the Japanese stuff. So I know like I'm just saying like there was like a Metatron video where he actually did try to do like a quick draw. Like the dude was in his face, and like the guy that already had the sword drawn, like he always was able to like pretty much move a lot quicker. So I don't know if like the speed really matters.
Well, I think a good portion of that depends on the person as well. One of the teachers that I work with is a rather elderly gentleman, and I think of him as Yoda, right? In the sense that he looks. I look more spry, particularly when I started, and here's this guy that looks like, you know, he's going to blow over in a strong wind. Put a sword in his hand and give him purpose, though, and I'm dead. You know, hands down, 10 times out of 10, ass handed to me, right?
Yeah.
Guy has told me, you're doing this, you're going to get poked in the balls, and then he's poked me. Like, I'm going to poke you. Bop! Got both of them, right? So
the experience does like
experience, like there's a component, I think, to the swordsman where you're likely able to move faster, manipulate the weapon, use your experience and body mechanics and your knowledge over a lifetime of experience to you know, potentially do some pretty cool stuff, right? But I don't know. I mean, as I think about it, right, like today, being able to draw your pistol and fire it accurately, there's people that really fixate on that, right?
Yeah.
It's certainly a component, and there's an argument over if you carry a pistol, do you keep one chambered? Do you not? Do you have a gun with a safety? Do you not? Like what holes? Like all of that is very nuanced, and there are people that argue about the differences and what's faster and more effective today with the modern equivalent of a sword, right? In the sidearm that you might carry today. And I imagine it was just as useful in Europe and Japan. Societally, there might be a difference in which was more useful. And maybe there's a reason that the Japanese focus on it more than Europeans do. At the same time, Katori is like a verbally and written, handed down tradition that's persisted from like the 1300s. So, and European, there's a little bit broader of a gap. So maybe it's just not part of what was written down. I'm not sure. Not my field of expertise, but I'd speculate that assholes roll up from behind you quick, and that's universal. And you'd want to take your weapon out and bop them, and that would also be universal. So the ability to do that promptly and with efficiency is likely universal.
Yeah, like
go ahead, Tempest.
I was gonna say, like, because they don't like have the quick draw thing. They got like maybe one move because the way that the long sword is, it makes it like really kind of hard to draw. But like if it's like the only way the weapon that you got per se, then I guess they like kind of draw it just enough to where you like have like the metal part explodes and then all that. Another reason why I train with like the Gladius and all that stuff is because it's actually, I don't have it, but there's like another weapon that they have called like a rondelle. So it's basically like kind of like this like small spike that they also have like kind of at the side and all that stuff. So if like someone gets into your face and you basically like just pull that out and it's like a shorter weapon, so it's like a lot quicker. So it felt to me kind of like this is like the European version of like how to deal with like somebody getting into your face really quick. So it's kind of like the quick draw. So it's like they
you have an equivalent in Japanese though, not necessarily the same as a rondelle because the armor is different, right?
Yeah.
So in Japanese armor, pretty consistently, you would have like a silk gambeson effectively.
Yeah.
And then that might be layered in portions with some sort of budded or curled mail, and then some lamellar or plates over. And then in some portions, you might have like a cuirass or some sort of like larger plate sections. But there's gaps pretty much everywhere and pretty consistently in like the armpits and across the abdomen.
And the throat.
And yeah, and in the throat.
That's usually they tell you to go for.
And get it. There's a lot of variation, certainly more than I think is commonly known. But at the same time, there were armor-piercing daggers, which is, as I understand, like some rondelles are very purpose-built to be like an all for armor, right? Where you can maybe punch through it and do the person underneath some harm, but also you could very easily get in the gaps of the time at the where the armor is made. And what's it called? It's like a yoridori, but it's almost like a drop tip tanto. And so if you had a katana, you may well have a tanto, and this drop tip form made a more acute tip that was reinforced and would let you find kind of gaps in the armor in a not the same way, but I would say more similarity than differences to a rondelle.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. That's a lot more about it than I know about it. So
yeah, I get the sense that me and you could nerd out pretty good, Tempest.
Yeah. Like these guys, like they're pretty. I think like anybody.
Well, I'm just stuck with the katana myself. I mean, I would like to think that the armor had a lot to do with the design of the weapon that was attacking it. That's why the armor was designed that way, to defend against a certain weapon.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
it kind of revolved into that. It was always the weapon had to combat the armor it was attacking, basically.
Yeah, that's pretty much like the story of the whole oak chop typology. It's like we had like the Viking type 10s. It's like, oh, you can chop the hell out of us. Ring bell. It's like, oh, we can't get around that. So they made like the distals taper. Like basically the more they're making like more armors, like the swords have to evolve with it. So yeah, it's the arms race incarnate.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, everything doesn't matter where it's at. Over the centuries, people developed it more and more and more just so it can combat in whatever's being thrown at them.
Yeah.
I think that the katana doesn't necessarily get the same appreciation for the differences that European swords do. And in silhouette, they tend to look the same. And in fairness, a lot of the modern reproductions, if you look at my collection, a lot of the items out of China tend to have, in profile, a lot of similarities. But European swords had a lot more variation in terms of width and thickness, and in that kind of silhouette profile, they're much easier to see that one thing is much different than the other. You look at a Type 15 and a Type 20, and they're not similar, right? Or they're similar in the sense that they're a cruciform sword, but very different in terms of profile. And a katana, you look at a Shobuzakuri blade or a Hirazakuri blade versus a Shinogi Zakuri in silhouette. They kind of look the same. And I go back to car analogies because even though I'm not particularly a car guy, there's a lot of similarities. And
Hey, Joe.
there's a Porsche kind of thought that they did it right the first time, and they've consecutively iterated on like an initial idea. And so if you look at a Porsche from the 50s and a Porsche today, there's a lot of similarities between them. There's certainly an evolution, but there's a lot of similarities between where they started and where they are today. And you might look at other things and they don't necessarily have that same kind of progression. And katanas are that. If you look at periods where the Mongol invasion happened and Shobuzakuri had this more acute tip to puncture leather armor, there's that. If you look at Hirazakuri blades that are a little bit more a little easier to cut with, a little less robust, there's some neat stuff there. There's the armor penetrating daggers that I talked about. There's all sorts of different things, but I think in profile, people think of a katana as this generic term that never changed for 1,000 years. And there's quite a bit of variation. I mean, it's more subtle, certainly, than the 1,000 years of European history, but there's definitely differences.
No, I agree. I mean, at first glance, no, because all katanas look the same. But I mean, when you start to learn about the geometry of the blade and why they were designed that way, there's a big difference. You know, like you said, European, it's very obvious the changes. It's not so much katana. Yeah, I agree with that. More outward.
The thing too is what people don't understand too. Yeah, they think that they're all the same, especially if they're in their style. They definitely look the same. But with the katana, you can always change things up on it too. They used to change their subas out. Like I said, if they had a certain ceremony, they'd change their suba out, put the handle back on or whatnot. But the other thing that people don't understand, whereas Europe, the swords changed throughout the years because they were fighting people differently and they had different types of weapons that were being developed. So they had and different armor and this and that. Whereas Japan, they were fighting each other.
Yeah,
it wasn't outside forces really influencing any other type of change, except for when the Mongols tried. That was it.
Maybe less, but they fought China and Korea, and I mean they fought their neighbors. There's certainly
I guess
changes, but less. Like if you look at the you look at armor and how it progressed over the duration that it was in use, right? And in Europe, you may have gone from mail to some sort of lamellar, brigandine, all the way to like plate harnesses that you can't put a pin through anywhere, right? On the really high end, very, very nice side, right? And in Japan, there's certainly differences between early armor and later armor. And
absolutely.
Like where what types of protections are on there and the differences in technology, they're certainly there, but a lot of them still have the same kind of pokey spots. You can still get at the throat, you can still get at the pit, the back of the legs. A lot of those things, they might have more or less, or there might be more or less gaps in certain spots, but a lot of the kind of plot holes, if you will, are still there from start to finish. So there's differences, but not quite the same. And I imagine there's a little bit more maybe of a potential hazards when it comes to European armor. You're fighting each other, but you're fighting cultures to the north and to the south and all over the place. And in Japan, I know that they fought amongst themselves. There's the situation with the Ainu, and then there's China and Korea, and I'm not sure. I think there's some stories about the Philippines as well, but I'm not sure like how much all that influenced the armor or the weapons of the day, honestly.
Well, now Japan's kind of prideful. I don't think they were too hip to taking other people's ideas or criticisms too much, were they?
They took Chinese swords early on. A lot of the blades.
Like earliest ones, like have a lot of Chinese influence.
Yeah, I mean, maybe when they close things, again, we're getting into asshole in the ground territory. I'm talking about my pay grade. There's certainly influences though, and vice versa. I'm not sure necessarily who influenced who, but they certainly adapted, right? When the Mongol invasion came, there's like kind of a tie to the Shobuzakuri geometry and this reinforced, more acute point to puncture leather armor. So when people were dying and they need to win wars, things changed around a little bit.
Right.
And we're talking about the sidearm too. It'd be like, what caliber pistol did you carry in, World War I versus World War II? Like it's the nuances of it are also different than all the other things going on.
Right.
But they certainly changed them around a little bit.
Yeah. Necessity is the mother of invention.
Indeed.
Well, now, how long you been on YouTube there, Tempest? You've been on here longer than me. I know that.
I had another channel. I nuked it. So
Really?
like 4 years, I guess. No, it's like more like 2. Because I started it in 2020, and then I've been so it's about 3 years.
Right on. We need to get you some more subs. So everybody subs to Tempest if you ain't already subbed to him. So, and there we go. So
yeah, what is you too, Jensen?
So what do you got going on? What do you got going on, man? What do you got? Some new videos coming on? You got a new sword you got to review? Anything I should know about?
It's a never-ending stream happening. Today, the person that sent me the Perna Denal blade sent me a few other pieces, sword friend Matt. So I have a Zombie Tools blade to push to failure and a Windless Viking sword, which is good because when I let my hair down, I look like a homeless Viking. And then I have a Kriegsmesser from LK Chen Balor Arms to talk about, as well as naturally a few different katanas to talk about. But that my plan was to do some of the filming today, and unfortunately, I have something leaking in my ceiling. So the day was trying to figure out what the hell that was about. So
you got snow on the roof? You got snow on the roof?
It's funny. I was like, I bet it's snow on the roof. So Bert, I went out there. I get my gear on, and I have this like snow shovel thing that I can put on a giant pole and get up there. And the roof that I have it's pretty steep. So my extension ladder kind of gets to the roof, the top of the roof, but it's risky business to try and get up there in the winter. And I go out there, all the snow on my roof is melted. There's nothing on there. So I'm like, well, okay, it's something else then.
Yeah.
Is it around the fireplace?
No, it's so nearest I can tell, which I'm sure this sword centric conversation is really interested in my plumbing problems, but nearest I can tell, it's coming around the cutout for a 4-inch drain pipe. So I suspect like a wax ring has failed or something like that. And so I went and I shut off all the water upstairs to see if it stopped. It did. So now I have to gradually turn it back on and see what makes it leak now. But I have a sneaking suspicion if you know what a wax ring is, then you know what's in front of me, and I'm not necessarily looking forward to it.
No, I don't blame you. So, yeah, and you just got that house, didn't you? You just moved in.
I did. The joys of home ownership, you know.
Man, that's
I hear you.
I just had the ceiling painted too, and now it's all screwed up. But fortunately, it's an easy enough thing to touch up. Well,
use stain blocker. If it stains that ceiling, use a stain blocker before you repaint it.
Will do. I'll take it from an expert right there.
Bert should know.
An oil-based stain blocker will do it.
Bam.
So what do you got going on, Tempest? You got some new videos? You got some ideas for new videos or anything you want to?
Actually, this one, because I have one that I'm about to start uploading, because there was a video that like the live stream I think I was watching with CT. He was like, you can cut with a long, not a long sword, like a small sword. So,
matter of fact, I want how many European swords you got? Can we run through them all? Can you like show me all of them and give like a quick rundown of what they're like designed for? And because I don't have any, I've never really gotten into it. I love Conan; he's my man. but I never really got to that side of the.
Don't
of the
start with
sword
that
play.
sword.
Oh, wow. So much stuff here.
Uh-oh.
You asked for it, man.
Yeah, I did. There you go. Ask for it, and I put it out there. It's going to be shown to me, right?
Yep.
So I got like the Gladius here. Like you guys all know this one. It's actually I was really surprised. I got like this one at Academy and all that stuff. It's supposed to be like for hunting and all that, and I'm like, yeah, if you're hunting with a freaking Gladius, you're probably doing something wrong. But it's a really cool blade, and I'll see what it does.
Maybe hunt
So this is
elephants,
like
maybe.
It's like I've had this thing since like 2020. I haven't had to like sharpen it even one time. So I'm like,
What kind of steel is it?
It's 440. That's what I couldn't believe. But this is like a Gladius, so they can be like afford to be like way more stuff. Like it's basically like just a really huge freaking knife with a super sharp point. So it's like do a lot of cuts with it. It's pretty quick and swift, and it's like, well, yeah. When I started using this, I was like, I can see why this sword has killed more people than any other sword in human history. Like, pretty good.
Have you tried to use like a a makeshift shield to see? So that's like the other half of it, right? Is they had the Scutum with the Gladius, and it's tough to thinking about like moving a giant piece of drywall in front of you while you're trying to stab someone.
I mean, like the sword was like pretty short, so man, I think like most of the freaking Centurion regiments, like when they get really close, that's when they start using like the Gladius, and like they usually use like this other spear called like a Pilum. Like the Pilum, I was like, dude, this thing is freaking wicked. It's like basically kind of like a huge spike with like kind of like a flare tip and all that stuff, and like throw it when you start to get at a distance. Like you can throw it through the shield, like I have the shield in front of it, and sometimes it would still go through the freaking shield, and I'm like, dude, these guys were some evil bastards. So,
Oh yeah.
so this one is the Cold Steel small sword. It's like yeah, a lot of people hear the word small sword, so you're thinking like, oh, so it's gonna be like a small sword. No, this is actually like the reference to type. So it has like these two finger guards right here, which you're actually not supposed to use them, but I do. So it kind of gets like a really pretty good grip. And it's basically
sword.
Is it?
That's pretty long for a short sword.
Yeah. It's like basically like a really long tri-spike. Like I don't know if you can like see it, but
Yeah. All right.
one is like super flat, and then the other one is like kind of got like this ridge going on. And then basically you like use it primarily for like super thrusts and stuff. So like the reason why the whole thing is like dull and stuff is like this is probably when they like started reaching like the pinnacle of freaking plate armor. So you're like it's not even cut anymore, so just why bother with it? So you basically like kind of block and parry or like bat it to the side and then like move in for like those serious thrusts. Like you probably got no problem finding like gaps, and it's like pretty thin and maneuverable, so you can get all over that. And TT was like, you can cut with this. I'm like, no man, I've got one of those. I don't think you can cut with this. So I was thinking of the tip. So I was like, I figured I'd just like make a video and see what would happen with it. So like I can't really like spoil the video before I put it out, but yeah, it's like
no, yeah, don't give us the ending of it.
Did you try to sharpen it?
I don't think it was made for sharpening at all. Like this thing is like, yeah, that would be a nightmare.
They can be. I've found that with some of the triangular blades, you can kind of. That's the best way I can describe it. Get an edge on it, but I wouldn't say you're gonna cleave anything in two. There's no. I haven't had any luck cutting a tatami mat in half with them, but you could conceivably deliver a harassing blow that would be detrimental, right?
Yeah, I remember that one for like Forge and Fire because I saw him do it. So I was like, so maybe I can do it, but like I'm more versed in the long sword than like the small sword. So I was like,
fair enough.
I'm gonna see how it goes.
Well, Tempest, I have to go and do some daddy duty stuff now. I realized that I said 15, 20 minutes, and naturally I blabbed on longer than that. It was a pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Bird, for letting me join and crash your party.
Right, no problem.
Thank you for coming on.
Bye-bye.
Anytime. Thanks for popping in, buddy.
No problem, man.
All right, that was cool.
Yeah, it was.
I couldn't say no to Matthew. He emailed me and said, "Hey, man, I got a couple minutes." I'm like, "Come on in." Not a problem. So,
wow, like really.
You know what you got here? What you got here? I like this. Now this is the part I like. So that's wait a minute. Now let me go back to that sword before. So that would be more like what Indigo had in Princess Bride.
Sort of. It's like
it wasn't really used for cutting. It was used for that was when you went like this, you were blocking something. When you went like this, that was your attack. Am I right? Something like that, generally speaking.
Like the small sword, I think his was like a rapier. So it was like a thin blade with some cutting potential, but it wasn't like that's not gonna be like your main one for like winning duels and stuff.
Right. I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean,
you pretty much just like.
I don't even know if that would cut to Tommy, man. I'd be scared to bend the hell out of it. You can cut into Tommy, so.
Yeah, you pretty much just like put your blade like here, and it's kind of like the best way I can describe it is like a thin barrier, and then I don't know if you can cuss out your stream. So yeah, I'm just gonna try to go like the long line of FU. So you really don't want to like try to like run past this guys.
Right.
So yeah, you stand out there and then keep the person at a distance, and then you like keep your eye on a blade, and then like once you control it, or like basically you got the door lit, so you're not worried about like cutting or chipping anything. So you just like
it's parrying and thrusting. It's like a fencing foil almost, because that's how fencing foils are made. Either square or octagon, but they're totally dull.
Right.
But the ones that used for duels to the death, they would have a really fine, sharp point, man, where it would just pierce that skin.
Right. As soon as it hit contact, it was going in. Right.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It looked like a really thin railroad spike to me. So like the whole point for the tri spike is like when you like stab someone and like pull it out, it basically like makes a really huge puncture wound. So like 3 or 4 of those, like even if you win the fight, you're probably still gonna die. So
right. I mean, the more I learn about other types of swords, I mean, the more I learned about the katana for one, on top of that, but I learned how the certain designs were, and they're all deadly. Every single sword that was ever designed for its intended purpose did its job severely well.
Oh yeah.
Every single one of them. There's not a sword that was poorly designed, in my opinion. Now, when you go to you can't take a European sword and go chopping. Well, I ain't say chopping doubles because Tempest does it, but it's not normal. You know, it's not that kind of weapon. You know, you got to be good to do that. It wasn't designed for that. You know, it was designed to go pierce armor. You know, and it did it well. So I don't know. I just find that just curious as all get out. So you can go on, continue.
I got like these 2 cold steel bastard swords. Like one I got from a friend, and the other one I bought because I wanted like the longer handle. So.
Okay, now wait. Before you get started, what's the difference between the bastard sword, the long sword? Yeah, what's the difference there? Because I don't know. They didn't tell you in Dungeons and Dragons. I just know I like the bastard swords.
Well, the difference between these 2 ones that I got right here is technically that one is a bastard sword and one actually isn't. So they put them on like the website and basically say that both is supposed to be like a bastard sword, but this one is like a hand and a half. So like I can put like 2 hands on this one, and basically I don't have like room like for like a katana or even this other one to like put like you can put like a fist in between this one right here, or you got like a little bit of space. The bastard sword is supposed to be like mainly like this one. It's closer to an arming sword, so an arming sword would basically be like right here, so you only got like room for like one. The bastard sword is basically like you got this much room, so it calls it like a hand and a half. And then the blade itself, I think, can like vary to any of the typologies, but this is the only one that I got for like reference. But I think it's basically like kind of standalone. Like when I try to do like any of my sword maneuvers or like my thumb grip, it's like really hard to do it. And like I noticed that like they call them long sword maneuvers in HEMA treatises. So it's like when it says it's like made for like the long swords, and it's like that type of handle. So when you don't have like that leverage, then it gets like really hard to use maneuvers that basically like generate the same kind of power and force. Like it's just not the same. So even though this like called the Cold Steel Bastard Sword, it's like technically like a modified one. So
Right.
oh, and another thing, they don't believe in putting fullers on any of that stuff. So
No.
Oh, really?
yeah, I was like, this is a very American-esque company. Like he's like, this one's a bit heavy than like the historical models, and then I could like just picture the dude in the video saying, "Nah, man, you need to lift more weights."
Now, is that heavier than your katanas that you have?
Yeah, a little bit. It took some getting used to. This one hasn't got like the fuller, so it's probably like the second heaviest out of one sword that I own. And the first heaviest actually is a katana. I just like realized it because I was like trying to get doubles with it the other day. Like this feels really weird. And I'm like, yeah. This one.
Now, where's the point of balance on that sword you just had? What's the point of balance on it?
I don't really know. I just like get the finger thing and then basically do that.
Well, yeah, no, I just want to look and see. Right, gives me an idea. Okay, I mean that kind of gives me an idea.
Like,
what it is.
It's in the way of a numbers guy, so I just like typically get the blade on light. I mean, I'm just gonna feel it anyway. So
Right. Well, no, that's all. I just needed to see where your finger was at on it. That gives me an idea. Anyway, I'm just curious. I'm just so used to katana. I don't even have any European swords. I guess I need to get one. So
yeah, I was gonna make a video about that one too, but I'm like working and ironing out like a script and everything. This one's my baby. This one's like my Hanwei Type 18. It's a friggin' it's a mouthful, so I'm just gonna say the Tinker Pierce long sword. Yeah, this one's more like a cut and thrust, so like the Type 18. So it's pretty good for like stabbing. I can use all the maneuvers. Like when I'm cutting through stuff, it's like pretty much like a whip. It's like super swift.
real nimble.
Practice, yeah. But
Nice.
I can do all the maneuvers.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
And I can't find the scabbard.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've seen that Hanwei. I've seen reviews on it.
Yeah, those were like supposed to be a pretty good entry sword, and I'm like, because there was one really good sword that they had, which is like the Type 18. Like, there's two of them for Albion. Which one I can't afford that. 2, it's a 6 months wait. 3, you got to buy your own scabbard, and depending on who you get that from, it can be just as expensive. And 4, what is it? What's been your favorite manufacturer for HEMA style swords? Right now, I was gonna say like if you should get a manufacturer for like, is it gonna be like practice swords or like cutting swords? Because there's like two kind of ones. Like some people make really good practice swords, which is like the HEMA, which they call it a fetish work. Basically, like those practice swords that Gargoyles was talking about in the beginning. They have like a rubber tip, and then they have like yeah, basically like a totally blunted edge, so it's basically like a line there. But
Ward says he chops firewood with his 6-pound CS greatsword. That could probably chop down a tree.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, everybody says that, but like then you look at the price tag and you're like, yeah, I'm not.
I don't even want to hit it with a tree.
You're right.
That's not happening.
What's up, Frog's in here.
Yeah, he said cut him. So right now I'm gonna go for like budget wise, it'll probably be between like Ronin and then like Hanwei. Hanwei has like a really good long sword, but they got like the X-Nut.
I've been checking them out recently. I know Riku has some, Cloudhammer has some that look pretty nice.
Yeah. I don't know if you can
there's a lot of Chinese companies do the European swords too. You'd be surprised.
Wow, I'm really bad at this. Can I get this at all? But yeah, they got the Hexnut thing. The reason why I got my Hanwei for like the cutting sword is like not only is it a good like entry for like the cutting, it's you can pretty much disassemble it really easy with like a hex key. So I bought these and then you just like disassemble it. And then you can do like really easy maintenance on it and stuff. So you can take apart the guard. They actually have like something called printed armory, which you can actually like go through those guys and basically try to get like your own custom pieces and whatnot. They had like some really good looking guards and pommels and whatnot. Boy, you can try to find other makers, but I'm not really. I think printed armory is kind of decent for the prices, but you could get like super. It's kind of like a labor of love. That's the way to put it. But,
Right.
Yeah, because most European swords aren't meant to be taken apart because they ping them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the
Joe said cutting, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I go with the Hanwei for like a really good entry sword, and then when you want to get like more expensive and stuff like Albion, Lockwood. I don't know where Del 10 is. Del 10 is kind of like in the middle. And yeah, Eric Hussein has got like the Ronin Euro model. Yeah. So they call that one probably like a pretty good budget sword. So they got like that good European sword, and it's like 400-ish bucks. I think might be a little bit lower, a little bit higher, depending on where you want to get it. So yeah, it's pretty good. This one would have been like 200 something or like 289, but I was like got the sharpening process. Like because I got the experience in sharpening katanas like with the long sword. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna have to like kind of grow in there. So
I know Joe didn't like sharpening his. that kind of deters me too. I mean, that's a lot of sharpening. You got to get 4 different. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't given that much thought yet.
Well, you got 2 edges.
Yeah,
you got
right. I mean,
Tempest, tell me if I'm wrong. Is it historically on European swords that are double edged, they would sharpen one, but sometimes not the other, and leave the other side dull?
Some cases, yeah, because if the person was like, I guess, like really dedicated, they'd be like, I'm only gonna like block with this edge, and I'm gonna be cutting with this edge. Then yeah, you can't do that. But I don't know how often. Like it's kind of like one of those tidbit things in history. Like, what are you really gonna remember? Like somebody doing some super stuff over here, or like this one guy that was like, yeah, this is really how I like it. So I don't know if it was like.
I would think if you did that, you would have to remember which side you sharpened, though, too.
Yeah.
Especially when you went to draw. Oh, crap. Is that my dull side? Then you're dead.
That would be like, I don't know if they did it a lot. And then, yeah, with this sword, I got like the leather on the grip and all that stuff. So, like, the leather would kind of make it like a little bit easier to tell because it's got like this one side. You can see that.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And then you turn around. So it's like, yeah, I know what you're doing.
Right.
Which actually helps a lot when I'm sharpening because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going over the same thing twice. So yeah, I want
to. Yeah, imagine that's what I was thinking. It's kind of hard to keep track. Let me, which edge you sharpen after a while. If you start like, okay, what I just do? Let me answer Kingfisher real quick. I sent a bunch out, buddy, and I was going to send you one, but it cost me like $30 to send it to you, so I didn't. And by the time I figured out that I was going to send you, everybody was messaging me back saying they broke some. So I got to redo them and make them a little bit stronger. But yeah, I'm on it. The winter came. I ain't been able to do anything in the winter. I got my surgery and shit. So, but I'm still on top of it. I'm testing. It's in the testing phase.
You've been going through a lot right now, Bird.
All right. Yeah, a little bit more than I wanted to. So
I was lucky I got to cut today. Tomorrow I won't. We got storm coming in. It's going to be all week.
Yeah, I've been getting some weird storms too. It's like the jet stream is broken. Like they say like usually it's just like a certain type like pretty much year round, and then it's like with this global warming stuff that kicked in, we've been having like freak storms and like stuff that comes out of nowhere. Like super record high snow. Like every time we come like the summer, they're like it's a new record heat. And it's like I've been hearing that 3 years in a row. So like I'm guessing like 5 years we're just gonna catch on fire. Like
where are you at, Tempest?
I'm in Texas.
You're in Texas?
Yeah.
So you're probably getting our storms in.
Yeah, that happened today. It was like, what's going on? I would like went to work and all that stuff, and I, like at first it was like it's looking super sunshine the next day. Next thing I know, like I was getting like ready to get like a cutting session in, and it was like, oh, the stuff was flooded. I was like trying to get my check. He was like, yeah, we would get that today, with like one of the locations that my store owner like had like flooded because it like rained through the whole night like nonstop. Like the Pasadena area is flooded, so no one's getting the check today. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's happening here now. All the high elevations because we're getting tropical storm now. It's melting all the snow really fast below 4,000 feet, and it's flooding like the whole valley and Bay Area.
Oh my God.
Bad, where people have to actually evacuate their homes.
Yeah, man.
I mean, it's just been crazy here. It's
Joe was
never, as
brilliant.
long as I've lived in California, it's never been this bad.
So Jake brought up a good point about the double-edged sword sharpening both edges. That would be cool to do doubles like that because you ain't got to turn the blade. You can just go right back. That would be a plus. I didn't even think about that.
Spear. He's like the Reaper spear. I was about to talk about it, but like then we got this stuff. This one is like a hunting spear.
We can go back to that.
Yeah, it's just gonna be like that hunting spear because that's like also something I got at Academy. So you can like toss this or like basically pierce stuff. I was like, I read like a lot of stuff and then I just got like ADD, so I like hear people in my head sometimes. He was like, the sword is prince of all weapons, but the spear is the king. So I'm like, that means I need a spear. So I just saw this.
I have those voices.
Damn it!
I have those voices too that tell me to buy weapons. Yep, they're there.
I actually want to get a Yari.
Yeah,
a good one though.
What's that?
That's not what happened to Matthew Jensen. That's like a Japanese spear.
Yeah, it's a Japanese spear.
All right.
The difference with the Yari is it's flat. It's actually perfectly flat on one bottom if they make it properly, and on the top it's got a pitch like that.
Right.
Because you would use, if you had gaps like Jensen was saying, you would shove it in there and it act like a wedge and open the gap up so you can stab somebody.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So, pretty weird, I know.
Half-breed wants to know what you're holding. I think it looks like a katana, so he wants to know what you're holding there.
That was when he was asking about the spear.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like,
you do a video throwing the spear across the yard.
It was like a while ago. Like I had like a really old like archery target. I was like gonna do some archery, and then I like because I wanted a cardboard box. Because every time I had like just the target by itself, I like took 2 or 3 shots and then knocked it over. It's like yeah. But then I got like a bigger bow, so it was kind of like the science way of saying like, yeah, you need more something to hold this.
Bow is fun. We got like 3 of those. We got 3 bows. I love shooting a bow. They're fun.
Yeah, I never really got into that. I like my slingshot though. It's fun.
Yeah, slingshots are pretty good.
Now, what's the katanas that you got? Have you guys already show all your European swords?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, that Hanway's your baby then, huh?
Yeah. I mean, the Cold Steel was good, but the Cold Steel was like, I felt like the person that was making it was more thinking about durability. Like it's kind of really hard to sharpen, and it got like a weird what do you call it? Like polish. Like like when you sharpen any other sword and you have like multiple different layers, so after you like polish it enough, it pretty much looks like it was before.
Yeah.
Right.
This was like some weird layer. And then I got like on the small sword, like a bunch of splotches and stuff. So I'm like, what this was basically saying is that this layer is a layer. So I don't go too deep beneath it. So this is like, you probably remember this one because of the orange skyward. It like stands out the most.
Yeah.
It's like some Lucia. Like I forget all the model numbers, so I just end up giving my swords names. So I call this one like Aeolus.
Well, now you got to remember the steel that it is, right?
Yeah, they're all pretty much 1045 because I felt like anything more would like make me like seem like my technique is really a lot better than it is. So I'm like,
That's a good thing, though.
yeah, if it's like
what the expensive swords are for is to make you look better. That's why I'm buying more expensive swords, so I look better. No, I'm not.
anyways. Yeah, like I don't know if you can. I'm gonna try and see if you can see the design there. It's got like some kind of
Right
wind
on.
blowing there.
Yeah.
Well, now who makes that one? What's the company? Where'd you get
It's
it
a
from?
Musha.
What is it?
Musha.
Oh, Musha.
Yeah.
Right on.
Mushashi's other brand.
Right.
Okay, and that's a 1045, right, Tempest?
Yep.
Okay, I had some dude comment on one of my videos. You can't cut anything with 1045. I said, yeah, you can.
I cut
It just
bamboo.
is not going to retain its edge as much as like a 1095.
Right.
But it'll cut.
Oh yeah.
You know. Now, would
Yeah.
I cut bamboo with the 1045? No, because it's going to bend the hell out of it. It's going to take a set.
I have, but it's really small. I would.
Well, I'm not talking small bamboo. I'm talking like 2 inch.
You
ain't doing it. But
no,
yeah,
you can't go like past
1045 will cut.
Right.
It's like, get out of here.
Oh yeah, it'll cut. It'll
And
cut
see,
just fine.
right there, Tempest is proof that you can cut with the 1045.
There you go, all day long.
Yep.
And
Right on.
this one I forgot. I think the company that made it was called like Ryukami or something. But I like tried to look them up to see if there was like any more swords. Like never found another one. So I guess they like went out of business. Like this
That's
one,
cool, though.
yeah, my heaviest sword. So it's got like this golden koi fish design,
That's nice.
Oh, cool.
and it's got like this swell. Oh wow!
Well, it's got the bowie in it.
Yeah.
It's got a fuller on it and everything. Cool.
Right on.
Very nice.
That thing was like super heavy. And then I got these two. I like they're basically the same sword, but I basically like found them at like Trader's Village. It was like pretty cheap. So I'm like, I'm gonna just use the hell out of one of these things until basically
Yeah, I mean,
it's dead.
it's your beater sword, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, I literally call this one beater. And then
Now, your heavier one, is it even though it's heavy, does it feel balanced in the hands though?
this one. The
Yeah.
Dimri. Lately, not so much. Like I don't know what's going on. It's like I know that I hadn't used it in a while, so I was thinking maybe that was it. Like I'm getting more used to other swords, so it's kind of feeling like really weird. So I'm like trying to do a double with this, and I'm like, that reminds me. I didn't want to talk about doubles for a bit because I like got one with the long sword on camera, and I was like looking to see if I got it. I was like, dude, this shit isn't on.
Yeah, see, I
There
don't
you
mind
go.
a heavy sword as long as it's well balanced.
There you go.
If the balance is way off, it's just, to me, it just seems unruly.
I forgot about that. Roy says Matthew Jensen cut a laptop at 1045.
Right?
1045 definitely works.
Hey, if that's what you can afford, though, I mean, because you get them pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And
I've
as
seen
long as it's
expensive-
made where it won't hurt you or anybody else, it's fine.
I've seen real expensive 1045. You know, the polish is real nice, and I think they might have been laminated, maybe.
Oh, man.
The 1045 get up to the $600-700 range. I've seen them. I wouldn't buy them, but I've seen it.
Yeah, I would.
Now, which one's that?
That one's a copy of the other one. I call this one Senshi Warrior. I mean, it's like probably one of the ones that I've recently done some of my best cuts with. And I just like pull it out every now and then because I'm like, how did it used to look when I was really good?
I'll knock the dust off of this.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I think that's pretty much about all of them. Like I had some older ones, but it's like, those got thrashed.
that happens in the process of learning, or at least in my case. Anyway.
He said,
So a real samurai sword back in the 1300s could have been the equivalent of 1005 steel, very low carbon in some of them. Yeah, I would think so. Some of that Tamahagane, just because it had a cool name, don't mean it was any good.
Right.
I mean, they just didn't have the steel back then. It probably was really low carbon like that, I'm sure.
Doesn't it like literally translate to jewel steel?
Yeah.
Probably.
They actually do use it, but not just for the swords, but they actually use it for jewelry. And it's actually a high carbon steel. I found out it's not a low carbon; it's a high. Now, I haven't looked at what the carbon rate is on Tagamahani yet. Right.
Well, I'm sure they have ups and downs. I'm sure you could find good stuff and bad stuff.
Well, the thing is, like I said, it depends on how you fold it. Because every time you fold it and you compress it, you push more carbon in there. That's what's going to make it strong.
That's true too. I forgot about that. See, steel's so much different than it was back then. I mean, now it's all clean. You don't have to fold anything.
No, Crazy. And see, the Japanese, when they started making swords, they didn't know they had to add carbon to the smelting process to make the steel. They just knew they had to add coal to it. But by adding coal to it was adding carbon, that helped bring the carbon base up.
Yeah. See here, this is what I was saying. Tamahagane can be very inconsistent. The smiths have to play it by eye. Yeah, I mean they have to. It's all by eye.
It's very impure. There's
no way to measure. Well, there's no way they don't measure its content, so there's no way to really know what's in it.
And
if you look at images of raw Tagamahani, you'll see a lot of black voids in it.
Right.
And those black voids are the impurity, and it's just riddled with it.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it in an ore chunk of it. It's a cool process that they go through. I'm thinking about actually getting one of Jakku's Tamahaganes. I'd like to, anyway. Do what?
It's illegal to take that stuff out of the country.
Well, I mean, they do their own Tamahagane.
Yeah, they do their own.
Yeah, but I mean, Jakku's got a nice price, man, and I'm sure they've done well. I mean, I like Jakku, so.
Yeah, I remember, like, if you guys ever watched, like, Knife or Death on History Channel. It's like the knife version of basically like Forged in Fire. It's like a subsidiary or something. But they got like 2.5 seasons, and they basically like show like people that come on there with like swords and knives, and they go through like an obstacle course. So the first guy was like a samurai, and he had like an actual Japanese swordsmith that was outside of Japan. So he was like, he had to have like the Tamahagane steel like forged out of like side of Japan, because he's like, they view it as like a national treasure or something like that. Basically, they say like, you cannot take this stuff out of the freaking country if it's like basically proven that it's been forged here, and they got like a licensing process and everything. So I'm like, that's really cool and everything. So when you said like there was some dude that had like a Tamahagane sword, I'm like, so is that a really good idea to like be broadcasting that you basically just did some super hardcore theft? Like,
you're right. Probably not.
It is Jakku. I'm sure they got it all legal. It's probably not Japanese steel. It's probably Chinese steel up in the mountains. They found it. And I don't know. I don't know where they did.
I don't think anybody really cares.
I know. It sounds cool and it looks good.
Yeah, and the reason why they used it was because it was easy to mine. It's right on the surface.
Right.
Due to erosion.
Right on.
So it's easy to get to.
Well, I don't know. You got any thing you want to add there, Tempest? You got anything going on as far as YouTube channel you want to add?
Oh no.
Just gonna keep rolling the videos out, huh?
It's like when I got to 1,000 subs, I was actually surprised. I was like, a lot of people wanted to like sub it. I'm like, wow, I'm really.
You deserve it.
That's cool. Cool, yeah. You've been on here a long time, man. You more than deserve it. So that was cool. I'm glad Scab showed up. That was pretty cool. How many? Because you got a bunch of subs from him shouting you out. Then Donnie did too.
Yeah, there was like you gave me a shout out. There was Addicted to Blades John, like you did a while ago. There was Donnie B. Then there was Crab Boys Cutlery or Scab. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
he said,
that's good dude.
Tempest, I've been on and off. What is your take on the massive skill and Euro swords? Like I don't have any Damascus steel Euro swords. From what I can see, it's really just like a good steel that looks like really good, but I haven't like seen it like do like any blowout super performance that any of the other good stuff does. Like it looks really good, but at the end of the day, I don't like if you're like talking about stuff like T10 or something else, like where you see like some obvious differences, like this is a lot tougher, or it's like wear resistance. Like I haven't seen any of that. So as far as I know, it's just like really more that it looks really good. I don't think it's like any better because like the actual Damascus steel, like I think people said like the way that it was made, like way back then, like nobody's ever been able to like super replicate it. So it like has a wood grain pattern and it looks really good, but I haven't seen it like really do anything that any other metal pretty much couldn't do. I'm kind of like more of a functionality kind of person. Like I was thinking of it like I think Musashi Miyamoto also says it's like you can only train how you fight. Yeah. So like everybody was like, this is really cool and all that stuff. And I appreciate really good looking swords, but I'm like, I'm gonna want to cut with it. So it's like, how long is this really gonna look like really nice and shiny and stuff? So as long as it pretty much cuts and I can do like doubles or whatever, I'm like, getting ready to do with it. I'm like more on that. So wow.
There's a link, Frog. Yeah. Go to Tempest channel. He's been on longer than I have, man. What's that, Alex? What'd you say?
I was saying Tempest Blade 1991 is his channel.
Yeah, he's been on here for a while, so go over there and give him some love, man. He's better cutter than me, man. He's got them long swords down pat, man. I doubt I could do that. It would take me a while, I would think, for practice.
Oh man, well, I went to do a double today. If you guys didn't see that video, and I totally missed that sucker, man, because I'm out of practice. I almost got it, but almost don't count.
No, almost don't count. Not in this group. I'm telling you, I've tried it. It doesn't work. they don't. This crowd don't fall for that.
I mean, brutal. Yeah, I think like because Idioka, his name is like earlier, Aikidoka. Like he had like a channel where he actually showed like people how to get like double cuts, or he said like to help. So like that one kind of helped me a lot. So he was like, as long as you get like the first cut really well, then basically you can focus on getting the second cut. So what I was thinking of it is in a way is like do like basically like practice your whatever direction you're gonna go. Like if you're gonna like do left, then you practice whatever cut you're gonna do like a couple times, like quite a few times until it like becomes a super muscle memory. Then if you can do like one cut really well and then like cut through it and like leave the laser good stuff, then you can probably hit like the second one. I got like a mindset for training. Like if you do something 100 times, it becomes a skill. If you do something 1,000 times, and you can do it skillfully. If you do something 10,000 times, and you can do it anywhere under any condition. So
there you go, folks.
Yep.
Words to live by right there. Cool. Let's see who we got here. What's he talking about? On a rise here. What's up, man?
Oh, wow.
Damascus can't be replicated because of a specific plant they used while extinct. It has nothing to do with the recipe being lost. I guess they're talking about Damascus. I don't know. I call it wood steel. I don't know. I don't want to get into that discussion. That's an argument.
Okay, yeah.
Aikido Ka.
Yeah.
Sorry to be that guy. It's
cool.
Okay, Kingfisher.
Yeah.
I would hate to like
be that guy all you want.
Yeah, I would hate to meet that guy in real life and be like, man, I'm a fan of your channel. Then I butcher his name. And he's like, you're not a fan. You can't say my name right.
Yeah. Right on. Well, cool, man.
So that's you said Eric had like some questions, right?
Well, if he had something to ask you, I don't know. I know he wanted to see you on because he just said he just told me that he'd watched you for years and it would be cool to see you on live. That's all he was saying, basically.
Oh, cool.
I don't think he had any specific questions. He was just saying how cool it would be because I mentioned it to him that you were going to be on the show. I was trying to get him on the show.
Yeah, I was
always
like,
working.
he was way more religion than me. Like, you probably ask her like something about a sword, he'll like have like encyclopedic knowledge. He's like, how do you know so much about swords? It's like, because I was there when they were made.
Right?
The first one that was ever made, he was like, he saw it.
Either he did or he knows somebody that did, one of the two. So, which is about the same thing.
That's
Or
what
he
it
knows
means to be a
somebody who
sword
knows
guy.
somebody who knew somebody.
But still, I agree. You got to get that first or second cut down robotically, where you can get them blindfolded, then focus on making the second or third cut. Yeah, that's about it. I take for granted how I learned because there was nobody to teach me. I had to learn myself, so I don't know what I learned. All I know is I accomplished it. I don't know the steps that I took to learn that to myself, which is something I'd like
Practice,
to
practice, practice.
Yeah, I mean it's that simple. It can be that simple, but I don't know. I know there's stuff I take for granted that I just did on, that made sense to me. I didn't have to think about it because nobody taught me. I don't know. I guess I need to be taught. Is that what I'm saying? I don't even know. I think Joe's out of here. Later on, Joe. Thanks for coming by.
Take it easy, Joe.
Man, that dude is awesome.
Joe's good dude, man. Joe's all right. There you go, Kingfisher. So I think of it as assuming the cut, where the first cut should be a given before attempting the follow up. I agree to that. About the same thing there. Right on. Well, anybody got any deep thoughts or anything before we call it a night?
I did.
Anybody?
Got it.
Everybody out deep
No,
thoughts?
I don't. Do you, Tempest?
Nah, I totally forgot.
It happens on this live streams. As soon as I hang up, I'll be like, man, I had something I want to talk about. It would have took up an hour and a half, and I totally forgot it.
Pretty much.
It happens.
Oh yeah, like it's more like the person that wields the sword than rather the sword itself. They all got purposes. As long as you learn what the sword was designed for and how to use it the most, basically you pretty much got like a good weapon. So don't strive to make one better than the other. Like try to learn how to use all of them.
It's like I was saying. I'm pretty sure I said this in live. What makes a sword great is the person holding it. Because other than that, it's just a sword. It's not going to do nothing.
Right. It's definitely the person.
It all depends on who's holding it. That's what's going to make it great.
It's a tool until the right person grabs it, then it's a weapon.
Yeah. Anything is a weapon as long as you know how to use it.
Tapped on my computer. I can't get it. Okay, there we go. Right on. All right, man. Well, cool. We're gonna call it a show then, guys. Thanks for everybody for coming on. You guys want to stick around for a minute, y'all, and then we'll say bye to everybody else. If you're not subscribed to Tempest, I do believe Joe put up the link. I do believe I put the link up in the description. So if you're not subscribed to him, go subscribe to him. And we'll see you all next week. I should have Daniel Lopez, Blind Samurai, on if he's still on. He was in the chat, so
he was in the chat. I haven't seen him in a while.
We should have him on next weekend, I do believe. If not him, we're gonna have somebody. So, right, thanks, Tempest. Thanks for coming on, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much, man.
Thanks, Alex, for being my co-host again, as always.